The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, GoPowerCat.com's Kansas State Athletics Show. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, from the GPC studios, here's your host, GoPowerCat publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to the first ever post-Avery Johnson edition of the PowerCat Questions Podcast. It's like a new era has arrived. Well, maybe that's a little bit too much. Tim Fitzgerald, Zach Carlson, Cole Carmody, and Ryan Gilbert right here in the GPC studios. Zach and Cole spent their day with our Ryan Wallace down in Maize/Wichita/the deep south of Kansas, covering the Avery Johnson commitment. We'll talk about that a little bit. And I held down home base, and Ryan Gilbert, I don't know what he did yesterday. Probably worked. Did you work?
I was at the lake.
Oh, you were still at the lake yesterday?
Yep.
What a rough life Gills has. We're sponsored by The Fridge. Speaking of rough lives, if you're having a rough life, turn to alcohol. Is that a good bump?
No, it was great.
Absolutely not.
No? Okay.
No.
If you're looking for a good time, turn to alcohol. Is that even better? Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, get into The Fridge. Whenever you're in town, if you're local, make sure and to turn off your notifications on your computer before you go to The Fridge.
Yep.
Make sure you mute your phones before you go to The Fridge. Because you don't want to be distracted while you're at The Fridge. You don't want to be like evaluating all of your thousands of choices for your taste buds and then have your phone ding and it's a chick saying, "You up?" and then you forget what you were doing. I think I forgot what I'm doing. Zach, you okay over there?
I'm tired.
Yeah. Get into The Fridge. We appreciate their ongoing support of the PowerCat Questions Podcast. And let's get going. We got a lot of, excuse me, folks. We got a lot of recruiting in Avery here in the first half. And then we'll plunge into my favorite topic, chess, in the second half. Or conference realignment. Here's your questions from Wabash Station. Gills, take it away.
From Pickles, how's your traffic doing?
Zach?
We almost had the best day ever.
Almost?
Yesterday.
Almost?
We were just shy
of our all-time high. Can't get into the exact numbers, but we almost set a record for page views. But we did set a record for page views in the 3 o'clock hour. That was the greatest hour we've ever had.
Wow.
But second best day we've ever had.
The golden child delivered the golden hour.
Sure.
When looking at that chart that Zach showed me, so just as a background, after all this happened, we went to a local brewery in Wichita.
A brewery?
A brewery? I can't say this.
A brewery?
A brewery. Is that what I said?
Brewery.
Brewery? Brewery? Either way. A brewery. And he showed me the chart. Let's just say that it looked like Mount Everest compared to all the other hours, which were very high. But then you saw the 3 o'clock hour that went, and it was pretty impressive. So congratulations to all of you for hopefully making your afternoon with Avery Johnson committing to Kansas State.
Was number one when Google was messed up? No, that was a good day. That was like the TCU game in 2010 where Google, the score bug, when you Google what the score was, it was broken. So people were going to the live story to see the score. But no, the best day was after Southern Illinois last year, the Sunday after, because those Big 12 hot takes or whatever from the West Virginia site do really well on our site somehow.
Fascinating. Fascinating. It was a really active day. We're at an all-time high for subscribers in our 24/7 existence. So more and more people continue to come over to Go Power Cat, and we appreciate it so much. If you're not subscribing, please do so. I mean, my guys just do things differently. We're not the same as we were maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We're doing things a lot more streamlined, and I think more what people are really after. So come check us out at the very least. We got so much free stuff between podcasts and daily deliveries and stories. I mean, the model's different at 24/7. We do a lot of free stuff, but we also have the best stuff behind the paywall.
From Derek S56, new subscriber, so welcome to the podcast. When was the last time we have seen the K-State fan base as a whole be as excited for a commitment in football or basketball as Avery Johnson?
It's so hard to compare because social media has just bent everything.
Michael Beasley.
Yeah, I think Beasley would be it, but we didn't have that kind of social media presence as anyone did back in, 2008? I don't even know.
Avery Johnson was the number 13 thing trending on Twitter at around 3:10 when I asked him a question and asked him, "Hey, Avery, how does it feel to be the number 13 thing trending in the world on Twitter?" So shout out to K-State fans for that.
That's incredible. And that just goes back to my point that in a cable environment in which you're counting heads as people that are held captive by paying a subscription, that's a different realm than a streaming environment in which you want engagement and fans that will turn on the sport, turn on your team. And K-State fares really well in that.
I'm very curious to see if K-State has any more high-profile recruits, if CBS Sports HQ decides to do the same thing. Because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that was probably one of their better hours as well. Because I'm sure K-State fans flooded to either Go Power Cat or CBS Sports HQ, wherever they found a way to watch that program. And it probably drove up their ratings. Because I can tell you right now, just looking at going through my Snapchat stories, there was probably 5 or 6 people who were at work and had the live stream streamed on their TV, and there was a noticeable cheer when he announced he was coming to Kansas State. So, yeah, I would not be surprised if in the future, even if it's not this year, but CBS Sports HQ decides, hey, you know what, maybe we should put these guys who might be choosing Kansas State on for our program because it is going to help our viewership.
I don't think it's necessarily a K-State thing. It's these guys were highly rated by 24/7.
Yeah,
these are he's a 4-star. If you're a 4-star, you shouldn't be putting out a graphic on Twitter and saying that's where you're committing. If you're a 4-star, you should be, on TV, streaming on, CBS HQ or wherever you want to do it. So I think that as K-State gets more guys like Avery Johnson, where they're competing for 4 stars, I think that this is just the beginning of seeing these types of commitment announcements where K-State's actually in play.
Yes.
I agree.
Well said.
from RRCat 2016. Not sure if he's ever made it on the podcast, so welcome to the show. How much NIL money would you estimate Avery will generate while at K-State? I would think he has the potential to hit seven figures with a successful career.
I have no idea. I don't. I think the NIL thing's going to calm down in terms of, these recruiting contracts are being thrown around. That's what they are. They're enticements to get kids to sign. And it sounds like K-State is only going to do the way it was designed post-signing your student athletes getting NIL money. I'm not sure. I'm just not. But what's incredible about this to me is I don't think the NIL was any calculation to Avery. From what I can tell, he didn't give two craps about it. He kind of has a Jerome Tang approach to this, that why worry about that now? Let's worry about the big money in the NFL. So does he talk about the NIL? No. After his press conference, he goes and throws the football. So, yeah, I'm sure he will be an attractive NIL person, and he might even step out of our K-State market into a national level because, honestly, he's got kind of a rock star look to him. He's a quality individual you'd want representing your company, so maybe he will go beyond the boundaries of the K-State fandom and NIL money.
To answer this question, I really don't care. That's the ultimate answer. Because at the end of the day, if Avery can market himself successfully, that's what the NIL is supposed to do. Right? That's the whole goal behind name, image, and likeness. You want to get paid because you have a successful career playing football. So what do? You attract local businesses, you attract national businesses who believe that you can help them profit. That is the fundamental basis of NIL. So to answer that question, I really don't care. And I don't think Avery does either. You hit the nail on the head when you said, Fitz, that he wants to play in the NFL. His camp believes he can play in the NFL.
I do too.
So, yeah, he's not worried about getting whatever amount of money it is as a true freshman. He is worried about developing, coming to K-State, playing under Colin Klein, playing under Chris Kleiman, and working on his craft so that one day he can be signing these massive NFL contracts that we've seen so many quarterbacks get.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll get seven figures initially. I think over the course of a full career, I think he could get $1 million plus. But I think right now he's probably high six-figure target is what I would guess. But you got to consider the other NIL that isn't just straight up paying somebody with a car or with a bunch of cash to make one social media post. These guys are allowed to put their names on jerseys now that are going to be able to be sold by the university. There's other revenue avenues that these players have access to that aren't necessarily, some dude in Miami paying a bunch of money to Nigel Pack to, to come to, a different school. So, there's legitimate avenues there that you can make a lot of money.
I'm genuinely surprised, and honestly, I'm shocked, to be honest. Avery Johnson said that his favorite quarterback right now is Patrick Mahomes. He said he's a giant Chiefs fan, right? Well, usually when that kind of stuff happens and Mahomes knows that there are kids who are really good football players that are big fans of him, they'll get a shout out from Mahomes, and he'll kind of follow their career closely. That hasn't happened yet with Avery Johnson, but I totally believe that will happen with Avery at some point this year. And I go there because with the new world of NIL, if he gets in tight with Mahomes, even if Mahomes promotes him a little bit, he does hold more value. That's just the honest to goodness truth. If Mahomes sees him and is like, hey, this kid is going to be really good, there is value in knowing that there is a superstar in professional football who recognizes you and can promote you. I fully believe that if Mahomes reaches out to Johnson, or if he says, if he sees him play and likes his game, there could be some NIL value in that.
I know you're talking about football, but I think you're telling me that Avery Johnson's going to bring Whataburger to Manhattan. Is that what you're saying? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't want that. I'd rather have Quick Trip, Zach.
Oh, my God. Well, yeah, that actually, I wouldn't mind having Quick Trip.
I'd probably rather have that, too.
Hey.
Huh, you weirdos. Why can't we have it all, guys? Why do Why does K-State have to pick one or the other? Let's have our quick trip next to a Whataburger. And then, damn it, Ryan Wallace will put an In-N-Out on the other side just to make you happy.
We got Casey's.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I went in there the other day, and it was nice. It was really, really nice. They were out of pizza again. Gotta make the pizza.
It's been a trend at that Casey's.
I know.
It's bizarre.
I don't understand. I mean,
you're famous for not having pizza at this point.
Right. Yeah, this is your thing. It's like me not being good looking. I'm known for being hot. Let's move on.
From Eric Schneid, what do you think the recruiting impact a quarterback like Avery Johnson will have on the future classes? Will look like beyond 2023?
You want to play with a good quarterback. I don't care if you're an offensive playmaker, an offensive lineman, or a defender. A great quarterback who is a great leader is attractive as a recruit. It just is. Because it lifts your entire program in terms of visibility. Because everyone loves to talk about the quarterback. And if Avery's thriving and playing well, everyone will be talking about Avery Johnson. I'm sorry, he just is that kind of kid. So, yeah, it has potential to really help the entire program. I'm fascinated by this.
Avery Johnson is the second most recognizable Kansas State football player right now, behind Deuce Vaughn.
That's valid, actually.
I think it's a good statement.
Yeah,
I think
the kid just came up with something over here.
He did mention that yesterday. Okay. It's not a new thought.
Okay.
I think that, regardless of if it's Avery Johnson or whoever it is, the fact that he did it on a national stage and committed and, picked a K-State hat to wear, in front of everyone, I think that has more impact than, the fact that he's a quarterback from Kansas. I think just the national exposure of streaming it live, making the decision that, like I said earlier, that isn't just tweeting out a graphic, K-State being in play for these types of guys that are relevant enough that go to these Elite 11 camps, they go, perform well on a national stage. K-State being in competition and, in the race for those types of guys is going to have more of an impact than, Avery Johnson himself. I think this is just the beginning of, hey, that K-State brand is out there, and I think that that's going to have a domino effect going forward.
It's fascinating because I'm still not sold that the recruiting is going to be like this every single year.
Well, it can't be because, we're already looking at the 24 class in Kansas. It's nothing like the 23.
No, and I think that's what fans need to understand a little bit. Like, yes, K-State is taking advantage of their situation. And that's awesome, right? As somebody who covers recruiting now, this is like really, honestly, the first class I've actually, covered since they were, in the recruiting cycle. And it's cool because you get to see these kids develop, you get to see these kids grow, and then you get to see them pick K-State, the school that you cover. So I think it's cool because it's in-state kids, right? That's unique. This is not going to be like this every single season. So K-State is going to have to be more proactive. They're going to have to maybe switch up the way they do things. But I look at a guy like Joe Jackson. He is an 87 composite score, a very underrated but still kind of highly rated athlete out of Florida who's going to have a chance to be a very good football player at K-State. Those are the kind of kids that K-State can be in play for. Those high 3-star, maybe even low 4 stars. If you look at a guy, maybe potentially still in the mix like Josh Manning. Those are the guys that K-State can be in, can compete for. And so I think they can do that more now that you have a quarterback like Avery Johnson. Because again, are we really sure that a guy like Jacoby Lane, like Josh Manning, would actually want to come to K-State if Avery Johnson wasn't in the mix? I don't know. So it's important to have a quarterback, and it's important to build around that.
From 3G Wildcat.
We're all like, it's mid-morning when we're recording, and we're all kind of like, what happened yesterday? I feel like we're hungover from Avery.
I feel like it.
Yeah,
I'm very tired.
It. Sure. We went to the fridge last night, didn't we?
We did not.
We feel like it.
Does the tradition of K-State football opening up conference games on the road continue in the future Big 12? Did I mention this was the last question?
No,
you didn't.
There we go.
I will be interested to see, because I think there's a flaw in the algorithm. I think that's what's going on here. And I've said it before. I think somehow the algorithm has decided to balance out the Oklahoma, Texas has to be this date, and somehow K-State always I just something's flawed in there. So once you remove Oklahoma, Texas, and particularly if you go to 16 schools, the algorithm will completely change. But there's also this perverse enjoyment about it. We joke about it, but you look at this year. You get it out of the way. You go to Oklahoma, and then you got 4 at home and 4 on the road in a year where you got 5 on the road. Or in those years when you got 5 at home, all of a sudden you're 5-3 after one game. So it kind of puts you at an advantage, particularly if you win that game. So I don't know.
I like it. I think you just get it out of the way, right? It's kind of like, it's like starting a workout. Nobody ever really wants to start a workout, but after you get your first lift in, you're like, okay, I got it. Let's go. I'm gonna conquer this. I know you guys may not know. No offense, you may not know what that feeling.
What you're talking about.
But for those that are listening that may be at the gym right now, you kind of know. Maybe you're just driving to the gym. You want to start your workout. Go in, start your workout, because after you get that first one, you're gonna have 5 home games the rest of the season.
What is he talking about? What's this Jim? Who's Jim? None of us are named Jim.
There's only 4 home games this year.
4 home games.
That's what I said.
He said 5.
No, I didn't.
No, he said 5.
Oh.
Not you.
My bad.
What did Jim say? And why is he working out? Let's go to break. We'll be back. This is the Power Cat Questions podcast. This is going to be shocking to all of you. But when we return, we're going to talk about conference realignment. I know. Weird. What an odd topic.
GoPowerCat.com's Power Cat podcast continues after this short break.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify is here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Welcome back to the Power Cat podcast. Now, let's return to the GPC studios.
Welcome back to the Power Cat Questions podcast. We're a little bit tired. We're a little bit sniffly and coffee. Not like
I need coffee.
Yeah. We're just struggling a little bit. Go with us on this journey. Hey, by the way, if you haven't listened to the Breaking podcast from me talking to Ryan Wallace as he made the drive out of Wichita towards Kansas City last night, on Tuesday night, make sure you go listen to that. It's very interesting to get Wally's take after everything had kind of calmed down a little bit. We got the Questions podcast here on Friday or Saturday or some point. I'll put up the overtime. A lot going on this week at GoPowerCat.com and a lot going on at the Fridge. Make sure you stop by the Fridge and check out their specials. If you don't have the app, if you're local, you need to get the app. I mean, the app's so cool. When they have a special, I get an alert that says, hey, fatty. That's not what they call me, actually. That'd be kind of weird. The vodka, your favorite vodka's on sale, and that's cool. When Pacifico goes on sale, I get an alert. Hey, Pacifico's on sale. And I see, and I get over there and buy some. Anyhow, make sure you download the app. The Fridge was awesome during the pandemic. I had to go order in the app and just pull up, and they put it in my car, and I'd leave. It was like a dream come true.
I'm going to add to this before we go on to the second half. Also, be on the lookout for some basketball recruiting coverage this week. There is Kansas City Nike EYBL circuit number 4. Mr. Gilbert will be there. I will be there. So stay on.
And Mr. Wallace. We love Mr. Wallace.
Mr. Wallace as well. So stay on the lookout for some basketball. Switch it up a little bit.
Well,
I agree.
Hey, you know what, Cole? Don't let me forget about the credentials.
Okay.
That link is somewhere buried, somewhere on one of our many conversations. I don't know where it's at this point.
Am I doing the whole podcast? Feels so special.
Why don't you just do the whole podcast?
Wow.
Mr. Sniffles.
From KSU number 1, there's been a lot of bad takes by certain members of the media with this most recent realignment. How do you view the media circus this go around?
I'm amazed at how out of touch certain members of the national media are with the product they cover. Just kind of almost a root misunderstanding of what college football and the college football experience is about. I just don't. And also, look, they have great sources, but they're so used to getting spoon-fed so much information because people want it out there. You know, they just don't know how to interpret things.
A guy by the name of Mole Lat.
I got it.
You got it?
Joel Klatt.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
I speak his language.
yeah. No, I was disappointed in Joel Klatt's take on that this will be great if we have 2 super conferences. No, it won't, Joel. I just said this on the radio. College football at the very root is regional. It's not national. It'll never be national. The only reason we care to watch Alabama, Georgia play in the national title game is if you trace it backwards, it's because the teams we care about in our conference have an opportunity to meet those teams. And if you take that off the table, we don't care about the SEC and Big Ten playing a national semi-pro title. We don't care. It's people in the SEC and Big Ten might care. But then again, I'd argue that if you're Indiana and you're getting shoved down the ladder of the Big Ten, if you're Purdue, I feel like I'm picking on an entire state, Minnesota, Northwestern, if you're a fan of one of those schools that is there to be the fodder that loses to Ohio State and Michigan and USC, you too will begin to lose interest. This is a failed, this is going to be just a complete disaster if they try to do this.
It's media people who tweet things out to get engagement, to get responses, and let's face it, to try and get more attention for themselves. I think as much as there is very bad takes on the internet, a lot of it is people trying to get their name out there, because guess what? If you can fire people up, you're going to get engagement on your Twitter, and you're going to have those little notifications that pop up. And at the end of the day, people are self-centered. And if the more notifications you get, the better you feel. And I think there's a lot of that going on right now.
I think right now at this point in time, anyone who puts out, well, this is what I would like from college football. I'd like to take these 6 teams from the Big 12 and these 6 teams from the Pac-12 and make a great 12-team conference. If you're spending 10 seconds of your time thinking about something that absolutely will not happen, has no relevance to the current conversation, you're wasting everybody's time and you're just trying to create content. I want to talk about things that might happen. And sometimes that means all the national people think, well, the Big 12's done. And we're in the Big 12. We're like, no, hold on, let me check my pulse. We're alive. We're good.
There was a ridiculous one I saw, and I think it was on CBS. I don't remember who wrote it, but it had the 4 new Big 12 members plus 4 other Big 12 members and then 8 Pac-12 teams in it to make a 16-team Big 12 that excluded like K-State, Iowa State, Oregon State. It's like, where did you come up with this?
This is never going to happen. There's not a scenario right now for the Big 12 to kick out an existing member.
Join up with the Pac-12.
There's no scenario that that's going to happen. Why are you spending 1 second of your time talking about that unless your idea is exactly what Cole said? You know what I'm going to do today? I'm kind of bored. And I've done this too. I've done it with Colorado fans recently. I'm just going to piss people off. That's all I'm going to do.
I mean, that's what that article reeked of. Let's put Iowa State and K-State out of the Big 12 and get a whole bunch of Twitter engagement. Is what that sounds like. It's what
I'm going to say
like.
It's a friend of mine, and I respect Dennis Dodd tremendously. But at the end of the day, Dennis can't get over the fact that he's a Missouri grad, and because of that, hates Kansas and Kansas State. So he left them both out of that scenario. He's got such a blind spot that he doesn't understand. He just doesn't see any value in these two schools from Hickdom because he's an elitist Missouri, which is so funny that Missouri people think they're elite somehow. I don't know. Look, what we're looking at right now is the Big 12 is alive and well, and the Big 12 might be the third healthiest conference out there, which doesn't say a lot. I mean, we'll see what the ACC does. We'll see. I think the ACC is understanding the peril in which it's in at a level that the Big 12 never grasped under previous leadership, and that they do have very desirable products. They also recognize some of you got to get over the fact that these granted rights are somehow ironclad. Oklahoma and Texas technically signed an agreement handing their rights for 99 years to the Big 12. That doesn't go away when they leave. And yet, I think we all recognize that's not going to happen. The Big 12's not going to own their rights for 99 years. And the same holds true with the ACC. But I think the ACC recognizes this is going to get tested, and if members really want out, and if we're attacked enough from both the Big Ten and SEC wanting out members and those members wanting to leave, they'll vote this conference out of existence. And they're trying to get Notre Dame locked up. And I admire them. They're being very proactive. And that'd be the best thing for college football. Notre Dame goes to the ACC. Maybe it's West Virginia as the 16th school. I'd hate to see it because I love them in the Big 12. And this conference just expanded to accommodate them, so that kind of sucks. But if Notre Dame says, we're going to the ACC, you guys are crazy for what you're trying to do, somehow Notre Dame becomes the good guy that saves college football. Did you ever see a scenario like that, Zach?
No.
Where we'd all say, thank you, Notre Dame, you're great. But that's where
Notre Dame is going to stay independent.
I don't think they
What's that Batman quote? It's like you either live long enough to become
either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Is that Notre Dame?
No, they're the villain that could potentially live long enough to see themselves be the hero and live longer.
Huh.
You guys are all wrong. You know KU's going to leave the Big 12 and it's just going to shatter. That didn't work.
Nope.
Well, Fitz got up and we're watching him.
Would you have laughed if you were behind your microphone, Fitz?
Well, sorry.
Give me a little chuckle.
I had the air vent closed in here, and we went from 68 degrees to 75.
I was going to say, it's a little warmer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to handle this in daily delivery, but let me say it this way. I want to stop and look at this from KU's perspective, okay?
Gosh. I thought we
I'm being sincere about this. This isn't some kind of backhanded pot shot at Kansas. But look at Kansas. They view themselves as an elite academic institution. We can argue over that. I don't care. But that's what they have a law school. They have a med school. They have a high self-worth in academics, which there's nothing wrong with that. They also have a very high self-worth in a certain sport. And they're probably, as an institution, looking around this conference and seeing the likes of Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, which is essentially Texas State, West Virginia, and they hear banjo music. They have such disdain for agriculture and ag schools. I mean, they do. As a fan base, they make fun of, let's be blunt, they call sheep motherfuckers.
But
They look down at the ag schools, and now they look around and they don't see Oklahoma. They don't see Texas. They don't even see some of the other schools like Colorado that left earlier, or even Missouri, which had the same kind of academic self-worth feelings, even though they hated each other like brothers. They don't think they're in a conference with their equals anymore.
But they wave the wheat.
Yeah, I can't understand the culture of waving the wheat while making fun of farmers. Do you not understand what the wheat is? So I see why they're eyeing the Big Ten, thinking we belong over there more than over here. Because culturally, they do fit the Big Ten better. I don't know. I just think Kansas better realize that basketball, they just don't get this. Basketball isn't driving any of this. Basketball is a secondary benefit out of this, and the Big 12 has an opportunity to continue to get better and better in basketball. Just amazing. They might go west and pick up pretty good basketball programs too. So I don't know. KU, you're an interesting case study of fandom. They just really are. They're so unlike the rest of the Big 12 now. I get their discomfort, but guys, you're not that cool. You can't ignore football as long as you have and expect anyone to watch it in this environment.
Are they kind of like Colorado 10, 15 years ago wanting to leave the Big 12 because they felt like they'd feel better in the Pac-12? You know, they're just, we don't really fit in culturally, even though you really historically and probably do fit better.
You don't fit in because you suck at football and you're mad about it and you refuse to address the issue.
Right.
That's the bottom line. If you were good at football, you wouldn't give a crap.
I agree. Yeah. I don't disagree. Gills?
I agree.
Thank you.
With all of you. From the Insatiable, who is a new member.
Insatiable.
Oh, my God. What just happened? What happened on our own podcast here, Zach? Okay, go ahead.
It's Ryan Gilbert not wanting to read.
Zach created a burner account with that name just to hear me mess up.
That's what I do.
New member, welcome to the pod. What are the best and worst case scenarios for the Big 12 and other major conferences on a 15 to 20 year time horizon?
I feel like that's so long.
It's a valid question.
Like, I think 20 years is, well, it's so far, like, we could be in a whole different round of
We're not even at 15 years of Nebraska, Colorado, and all those schools leaving the Big 12.
Right.
Okay. So there's two ways to look at this.
Hold on, let's put your tinfoil hat on.
One, is there success in breaking away the Big Ten and SEC from the rest of us, whether it's under the same umbrella or a different umbrella? I mean, if they set up their own thing, in 15, 20 years, we won't care about them. We just won't. And all of you who said, well, I want to play at that level and it won't matter, college football will be doing fine. Now, it won't have the national appeal that it does now because we'll be kind of shattered, but it'll be fine. It will be. But if we all stay together, money doesn't make you better. It makes life easier, but it doesn't mean you're going to be more successful. Have we learned nothing from Texas over the years? They have more money than any of us, and yet they can't get it right. So I just feel like the athletic directors, who often are academic people, they're not business people. They're from athletic realm, and they're still not business people. They're horrible at managing the financial aspect of their business. K-State's been fortunate. John Curry was very good at it. And Gene Taylor has also proven to be a good fiscal manager of the assets with which K-State works. And I also see other athletic departments like, we have $50 million in media revenue and I'm going to spend $60. That will not change when it goes to 100. It'll be 120. The greatest lesson I've learned from someone, and I have fallen into the trap, is it doesn't matter what your income is. Outgo is income plus 10%. We all overspend, and it's most perilous in a college sports environment that is about to change itself into a semi-pro environment. I see no indications that any of these schools will be fiscally responsible and function as a business. And they will collapse because of it. At what point the taxpayers say, you're getting $100 million from TV contracts. Why are we giving you a damn dime? And I think it's valid.
To get to the question, best case scenario, let's start with the SEC and the Big Ten. The best case scenario for them is they get everyone they want. They create whatever leagues they want, and everyone is happy within that structure. You don't have the biggest loser that's losing every year like KU does in the Big 12 every year. You know, Ole Miss or Mississippi State doesn't become the garbage, the bottom of the garbage pail. Somebody's got to, but you got to pretend that there's at least a little bit of parity at the bottom, and every once in a while you're having a good year, whether that's every 4 years, every 10 years, whatever by their measuring stick. They aren't Vanderbilt or they aren't Indiana or Purdue or whatever bad school there is in the Big Ten. Syracuse, Rutgers, those teams are at least happy just to be an also-ran, I guess. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is you have Alabama and LSU and Ohio State and Michigan. Those schools, winning every year. And being at the top, Georgia.
Sounds like now.
Right. Sounds like now. And that's, I think, why a lot of things are, other conferences are like, we need to change. And if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. But if you have, the same 4 teams in the semifinals every year of the college football playoff, whatever that becomes, I think that's the worst case scenario is you didn't fix anything. You just made the top 4 teams even better. So I think that's the worst case scenario. But for like the Big 12, I think the best case scenario is you get aggressive right now. You destroy the Pac-12, pick who you want. If the other conferences are going to go up to 18, 20, 24, whatever, the Big 12 needs to act like they can do that too and be the third conference, because there is definitely a market for a third conference and probably a fourth conference too. But I think that what the Big 12 did last year by adding the 4 schools they did, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, BYU, it was good at the time in the current landscape of college football on teams that you could add to the Power 5 that will work and that, quite frankly, probably deserve it. But now, by the Big 12 doing that, you might leave a lot of teams in the Power 5 on the sideline. Teams are going to go down now. I think that was the biggest fear of the Big 12 was, what's K-State going to do if the Big 12 collapses? Is K-State going to be in the Mountain West? Now, with everything the way that, I think USC and UCLA going to the Big 10 probably saved K-State's chances of ever being in a group of 5 conference. I think that saved K-State because now if people are leaving the Pac-12 and it doesn't matter where you're playing, I think that playing in the center of the country for half of your games is a big benefit if you're a team like Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, Colorado, especially when you have a team like BYU out west and you've kind of got these pods and you've kind of become this nationwide conference. I think the Big 12 can be a landing spot for a lot of these teams in conferences that may fall apart if you're the ACC or the Pac-12. But I think that, best case scenario is the Big 12 becomes, the leader of trying to pick up the scraps, because there's going to be some good scraps if the Pac-12 and the ACC collapse due to the Big 10 and the SEC. Worst case, I don't really see a worst case scenario right now for the Big 12 because this feels as good as the Big 12 has been since Nebraska said they were leaving. I feel more confident in the Big 12 than ever. But then you look at the other ones, ACC, best case is, like we've mentioned, get Notre Dame, maybe pluck off West Virginia, and, you survive that way. And Notre Dame stabilizes the entire structure of college football. Worst case is the Big 10 says, hey, Virginia, North Carolina, whoever, let's come into the Big 10. Let's get up to 20 or whatever. I think that the Big 10 saying no to Oregon and Washington says a lot about which direction they want to go with expansion. I don't think they want to go as west.
That was surprising to me.
What, that they denied Oregon and Washington? I think they're waiting on Notre Dame. I think that's, those reports are true that they're waiting on Notre Dame. And if Notre Dame says no, they may just stick at 16. But if they get somebody like Notre Dame, I think they're going to go east. I think you got to go after, your Virginia, your North Carolina, your Duke. And if you go after North Carolina and Duke, maybe you're, I think did I put Syracuse in the Big Ten earlier? I'm just sorry.
You did say that. I didn't want to say anything.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, I definitely put Syracuse earlier in the Big Ten. Apologies for that mistake. That was dumb. And it wrecked my train of thought just now. But if you add those North Carolina schools like Duke, North Carolina, maybe you add Kansas into the Big Ten if you become that basketball focused, because I think adding Duke, you're looking at the basketball and the academic value. A little bit with North Carolina too, but I think that's the worst case scenario for the ACC is they get rated by the Big Ten or the SEC, and then they cease to exist. And then it's good for the Big 12 because then they can pick off the rest. They can add Pitt, they can add Virginia Tech, they can add these teams that aren't necessarily the desirables for the SEC or the Big Ten, but they are definitely culturally and academically fit in with the rest of the Big 12 too. So I think that's probably the best and worst case scenario for everyone. Pac-12, I think you're done. That's the best case scenario, is you're done.
Well said. I agree with Zach for the first time in the history of this podcast.
Worst case scenario for K-State in the Big 12 is if no team wins a national title, no team emerges as a powerhouse in college football. Because without OU and Texas, the Big 12 doesn't have one of those teams. Now, one of those teams can emerge in the next 15, 20 years, but if they don't, there's no real strong anchor for the Big 12. Am I wrong?
I think so. I think that whoever emerges, I don't think it's going to change much year to year. It's just, like we saw with Oklahoma State and Baylor, it's not like OU and Texas were, immune to not being good. They were bad. I guess OU wasn't necessarily bad. They weren't good enough.
Someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. That's inevitable. Someone will win more, someone will lose more. Even a bad football team picks a quarterback. Even an ugly high school has a homecoming queen. Right?
Even Ryan Gilbert has a girlfriend.
Unbelievable.
That's perfect.
Even
perfect.
Riley Gates got engaged.
I know. So, I as this all shakes out, let's just take this example. 10 years from now, the Big Ten is one of the two super conferences playing semi-pro football and with a lot of money from Fox. But Nebraska is still going 5-7 after 15 years of this or 20 years of this. That's a generation. What happens to their football culture up there? Someone wins, someone loses. They're losing sight of that through all of this. Alabama, you always haven't been great. Let me remind you of Mike Shula. I mean, do you remember that? I mean, you've been through some crappy times. What if that comes back? What, Nick Saban? We heard it a lot in Manhattan. Your coach isn't going to live forever. Well, actually, the one, Bill Snyder might. But Nick Saban's going to walk away at some point. What happens then? I know you want to think it's just all going to continue, but I'd like to introduce you to our friends in Lincoln, Nebraska.
They're going to hire Jimbo Fisher.
People just really are kind of miscalculating this whole thing. And when I say people, I mostly mean network people and national sports writers.
Did I wish you guys a happy holiday?
No, I don't care about that.
7-6 for Iowa State today.
Oh, yeah. Hey, happy Iowa State Day.
Next question from Shake and Bake. First-time question asker. So welcome to the podcast, a very important member.
Shake and Bake.
In terms of realignment favorableness, football, basketball, revenue, facilities, location, size, etc., where would K-State rank versus the remaining Pac-12 schools?
Look, I'm not equipped to answer that. I haven't been to any of these Pac-12 schools. I'll say this. When I went to Stanford, I wasn't blown away by anything. In fact, that campus didn't do much for me. Everyone tries to say it's beautiful, and it's like, okay, yeah, great.
Well, the U.S. national team soccer team. They use Stanford, or they've used Stanford in the past.
They have a lot of facilities. They have 4,000 sports. I'll say this: Oregon will have the nicest track facility in the conference.
Probably football practice facility as well.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are really good, but I've never been to Utah. I don't know what their facilities look like. I mean, Arizona State just fixed up Sun Devil Stadium, so maybe it's better because it was a crap hole. It had fallen apart. They had neglected it.
Utah has an Olympic stadium.
Well, we're not having the Olympics.
They might have it again.
I feel confident to answer this question and say top 5. And everything.
Of the remaining? Washington, let's say Washington, Oregon, Stanford.
Arizona State. K-State.
I don't see why Washington is such a high profile school. I don't get it.
It's a major
Seattle
school
Metro.
in Seattle.
Yeah. It's where the money goes in Washington.
I think TV people might argue that Washington has more value than Oregon. That Oregon, at the end of the day, really isn't a huge fan base. It just has a huge alumni who has a giant sports-related company that skews our opinion quite a bit and does give them a big advantage. I think if you're the Big 12, you're afraid Oregon is Texas light, and they're going to be a pain in the ass. And I think that's why we're seeing some hesitancy from the Big 10 to invite them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't disagree that K-State would be top 5 of the new Pac-12 schools. I don't think that they're necessarily, if you added everybody together with the Big 12 schools, I don't think K-State's even top 5. I mean, you look at basketball facilities. K-State
no, but I mean, if you were to just put K-State,
but also
that's Pac-12 now.
Yeah, that's
the question, right?
Yeah, we're not talking all facilities here either. I think that location is more favorable for K-State, obviously being in the middle of the country, than any Pac-12 school. They beat all of them on location.
But going back to the previous question, I mean, 15, 20 years from now, I don't think location means anything. I mean, all these conferences, you see the Big Ten now going to be coast to coast.
No, it doesn't matter.
Same thing with the Big 12.
It doesn't matter if USC and UCLA, they want to travel all they want, that's fine. But if you're going to play in a national conference, being in the middle of the country and having a 2-hour flight everywhere, essentially, is amazing if you're K-State. If all of your road trips are half the distance of someplace on the coast, that's amazing. You have a tremendous benefit to being in the middle of the country and having the potential for the fewest air miles that you have to take to go places.
Yes.
Agreed.
Okay.
Well, way to end that one.
Infected testicle.
That's painful.
Would it be better for the Big 12 to get as many Pac-12 teams as possible, or to only go after the best remaining teams?
Yeah, I'm going to caution the Big 12. We're reporting this morning that there's a lot of talk about adding 6. Well, then you got 7 Western teams. Stop. You need to worry about some of these logistics a little bit. Man, just cool your jets, guys. You're like all of a sudden the kid who hasn't eaten very much gets the entire Applebee's menu put in front of you. Everything looks delicious. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just you're a little bit hungry and
give me the riblets.
Okay, there we go. So just calm down. I don't know what you're going to do with 6 Pac-12 teams and the 8 teams.
It gets awkward because of how the Big 12 expanded this year. Adding UCF, adding Cincinnati. You only added 2 Eastern teams. You added a really Western team, and you added 1 Central team.
Yep.
Adding even 4 Western teams throws the balance off, and I feel like that might be why Colorado is a little unfavorable to Big 12 right now. Is if you add Colorado, you can get away with not adding Colorado. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if you're Colorado and you look at the academics and the culture, you're probably more like Kansas and thinking, hey, we probably fit in better in the Big 10. We can play our natural and historical rival Nebraska every year again. We fit in academically. We have a huge metro area in Denver that has a lot of Big 10 graduates. I feel like Colorado you might just say, go join the Big 10 if you're the Big 12. Tell that to Colorado. But if you add Arizona State, and Utah to pair with BYU,
right,
you create a 14 pod
perfect
in the West.
Perfect.
You have 8 teams in the Central, and then you have the 3 on the East Coast. You probably want to try finding either Virginia Tech or Pitt.
Yeah, that's what I want to caution the Big 12 about. Don't get too greedy right now looking west, because as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, the problem with going west is you don't have as many viewers. They don't have as many good time slots. You don't want to make your conference, the Pac-12, all over again. It'd be a mess. So I just calm down. I'm with Zach. Just for right now, add Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah and say, okay, we've got 4 teams out west. We're going to pause now to figure out who number 16 is, or if 16 is even the right number. Don't add Colorado right now. Honestly, I want to see if they really want to be in. It's not like they don't want to be in. They'd rather go broke than be associated with the Big 12. But they just have a disdain for the Big 12. Why would you invite them back in? I don't understand that. Just slow down, guys. Slow down a little bit. But also, you've got to attack the Pac-12 in some way. I don't know how the Pac-12 thinks it's going to survive.
And what's with the loose association with the ACC?
Yeah, my wife told me I can't have a loose association with anyone. I think it's the same principle. What? Why would the ACC want a loose association with you without the USC and UCLA schools?
I think it's a statement. I mean, whether it's a public, if it ever becomes a public thing or whatever, but I think it's the admission that, hey, we're on the coasts. The Big 12 can destroy us if these grant of rights fail, or if people want to leave, or if the SEC wants to raid us, or the Big 10 wants to raid us. I think it's the statement saying, hey, we're stronger if we stick together instead of just joining the Big 12. That's how I see it. And I think
it's insane to me. Hey, the alliance was a total worthless piece of crap. Yeah, okay. Let's do it again, but even weaker. Let's do that. This is such a Pac-12 move. We're going to have a loose association with the ACC. The ACC's probably over there like, oh, who? What? Who are you? Yeah, we talked to you a little bit, but no. Cal and Stanford aren't adding Boise, San Diego State, UNLV, Fresno State. They're not inviting them in. They don't want them. And in a weird way, if the Pac-12 wants to survive, maybe they tell Cal and Stanford, hey, you guys, we're moving on. You guys want to block everything. Well, we're going to just move on without you. Because at the end of the day, I think that's what's going to happen. The Mountain West is going to have a real presence of Pac-12 teams, and I think the Mountain West will be stronger because of it. But this is a mess.
Will the Mountain West rebrand to Pac-12?
I wouldn't. I think that brand is damaged forever moving forward.
Last question comes from Woody Shaded OG. How many, if...
Wait, did you actually say that not as a joke?
Woody Shaded OG.
Woody Shade Dog.
Woody Shaded OG. I want to curse at you, but I don't want to make Fitz do more work than he has to.
Woody...
It says Woody Shaded OG.
It's Woody Shade Dog.
Woody Shaded OG.
I like it.
What it says.
Actually, I like the OG part. We changed it. It's good.
All right,
Thank
Connery.
How many, if any, teams outside the SEC and Big Ten will be allowed in the college football playoff after conference realignment, with both conferences basically negotiating the new deal?
Depends on how many teams are in those conferences.
Again, are they going to still be playing college football? My instinctive answer is 0. They're going to be doing their own thing. They're not going to. If they start playing semi-pro football, nobody that is left behind should ever schedule them. You wouldn't go schedule. K-State baseball doesn't put the Omaha Storm Chasers on their schedule because it's convenient. And no, you don't do that.
Don't some college teams, sorry for derailing this, but don't some college teams play pro teams occasionally, like spring training?
Well, they might.
That's happened before, right?
Yeah,
Cole?
but I mean, it's spring training. It doesn't count to their record.
Yeah,
sure.
Look, if we all end up under the same banner, I got news for them. They need the other conferences involved if they want their product to be tangible. So yeah, they'll be there. I do kind of laugh that the two conferences that are in the most peril right now voted against expanding the playoff. You guys, oh my God. So
you know
much
what they say about karma?
No, I don't.
She's a very nice woman.
Oh, I didn't know that. They say that?
If you use the word nice loosely.
She's also that. Okay, we're going to move on now. That's it. That's it for the podcast. We're done. This podcast made no sense. We had a short first half and a long second half. And I said a bad word that I'll probably forget to bleep out. We'll talk to you on Friday with the overtime. Maybe it won't be Friday. I don't know when it'll be. People, this week's a mess. Did you know we had a holiday this week? How did that happen? Huh.
Thank you for listening to the Power Cat Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Power Cat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowerCat.com.
Spring training is right around the corner, which means it's time to start prepping for the fantasy baseball season. Join us on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, 4 times per week in January as part of the CBS Sports Podcast Network. Scott White, Chris Towers, and me, Frank Stanfield, will be delivering the latest news, rankings, and strategies in just 5 minutes. Make sure to download and follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Odyssey app, and everywhere else podcasts are found.